Hello, welcome to the Coaches Training. Community Problem Solving, CmPS, is a program of the Future Problem Solving Program International, and specifically the Indiana Future Problem Solving Program. This training will be giving you information on the background and educational benefits of using community problem solving with your students. My name is Jill Slinker, and I am the director of the Student Programs Department of the Indiana Association of School Principals, and we have adopted the Indiana Future Problem Solving Program for our competition students. This training has a few objectives. In the multiple part training webinars, we will go over the background of the Community Problem Solving Program and the Future Problem Solving Program International, the educational benefits of doing these programs, the creative and critical thinking that it takes to do it, the 6-step process that is put in place in order to do the problem solving, and our CmPS or Community Problem Solving Projects components that would be graded in a competitive setting. So let me talk a little bit about the beginnings of the Future Problem Solving Program. The program has been in existence as of 2019 for 45 years, and it continues to expand and grow in the components that it offers. It was founded in 1974 by Dr. E. Paul Torrance, who's been recognized worldwide for his work in creativity and education. It's based on the creative problem-solving process developed by Alex Osborne and Sidney Parnes as applied to potential challenges in the future. Now, more and more, the goals of future problem solving are becoming the key factors in curriculum and trainings and job descriptions. It's often noted that these are the skills that today's employers desire in their employees. Think about it. Think about the complex issues. You develop an interest in the future. You solve problems using the creative problem-solving process. You think creatively, and you develop advanced research skills. These are all skills that we want in our students. The characteristics of FPS participants are that that they are turned into essentially futuristic thinkers. FPS emphasizes collaboration in all things. It turns out effective problem solvers, analytical researchers, expert innovators, ethical leaders, diverse thinkers, and truly global citizens. Now, the 4 core thinking skills that are the cornerstone of the future problem-solving process are what we call the 4 C's: creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. Creativity, well, our problem-solving situations are set in the future in our global issues problem-solving process. In the community problem-solving process, obviously, you are dealing with problems that are set today in your own communities. But when you give your students the chance to come up with ideas on how to solve problems, you are enhancing their creative thinking skills. Critical thinking. Students will use an analysis process to gain an understanding of issues in today's world and then comprehend significant aspects of complex situations. How many times have your students said, "Why don't they just?" I know that as soon as my students use that phrase, "Why don't they just?" they didn't understand the complexity of a problem and they needed to use more critical thinking skills. Communication. These are team efforts. Clear and articulate communication is developed while working with a team or in the community, and the ideas are presented in written and verbal modes. And finally, collaboration. Students work together while learning and applying problem-solving skills. Teamwork is nurtured as students advance through challenging and exciting situations. In today's world, we always wonder, how do programs fit my needs? How do programs meet the standards of my students here in Indiana? Well, first of all, Future Problem Solving program is aligned with the standards that we have developed here for our students in Indiana. Let me give you a document here so that you can see that. If you take the ELA and content literacy standards for Indiana and line them up against what community problem solving process is asking them to do, you can see that the standards are developed all the way through. If your principal or your community wants to see what standards are being taught by using this program, I invite you to access this document. You can find as much information there as you would like. We take the standards from 4th grade all the way up through 12th grade standards so that you can see how they are utilized throughout our program. Feel free to use this document in any of your communication with your parents, your families, your administration, and your community. Also, the idea, we always want to foster 21st century skills in our students. Well, there are quite a few 21st century skills that we're fostering with the idea of community problem solving. So we've also developed a handout for you to use with your schools. And again, feel free to use this. How to foster 21st century learning skills with Indiana Future Problem Solving. And it talks about the global issues that have recently been topics under the global issues problem solving process. And then it deals with what you can do. I mean, you can learn innovation skills, creativity, innovation, creative thinking, problem solving, communication and collaboration again. We foster the learning of information, media, and technology skills. You're going to have to gather, or your students are going to have to gather information from a wide variety of information and media sources in order to be able to solve these problems in the community. We basically are trying to teach kids how to think, not what to think. And in doing so, we give them the ability to solve those problems on their own. Okay? We use the creative imagination here to solve our community problems. Right? And these are all really good life skills to have. There are so many testimonials from our former future problem solving students in multiple countries across the world that confirm the value of the content and the skills of FPS as a tool for lifelong learning. The skills have had an impact on students' college success, their work life, their personal decision making, all of those things. And finally, one of the other challenges that we have today is that we are coming up with possible alternative ways for students to graduate. One of the things that the Indiana Department of Education wants students to have is workforce skills. If we don't have students graduate with the ability to go out into the workforce and to be good citizens, to be productive, then we've really done them a disservice. And so the Indiana Department of Education published a workforce skills list, a list of what employers are looking for out in the world. And I took the Indiana Department of Education workforce skills list and put it up against the rubric that is used to judge community problem solving in our competitive level here with the Future Problem Solving program. And those lists had the list here of the Indiana workforce skills. Let me show that so that you can see that a little bit better here. That's better, you can see that better. These Indiana workforce skills here, you can see that they are demonstrated, and you'll see it even more once you learn more about the process. They are demonstrated at every level of this process. Intellectual risk-taking, the appreciation of diversity, self-confidence, a sense of belonging, Those are ones that the Indiana lists. Pride in your work and self-discipline, perseverance, stress management, time management, adaptability. Working on these community problem-solving projects stresses all of those things. Professionalism and work ethic. Plus, we have, at the end of the process of the community problem-solving experience, you have a written report that they make, emphasizing all of these details here. They will also give a presentation, an interview with judges at the end, which emphasizes that oral communication, teamwork, leadership, self-advocacy, etc. This is another tool that we have created for you to help you justify your program if you need to do that, but also to help you evaluate your own students. Many schools are evaluating students on their workforce skills readiness. So this is a way that you could judge that and use it for the benefit of your own students. I've also posted that, or there's a link to that you can get to. Now, let's talk about community problem solving in and of itself. Basically, what we're doing here is we want to solve real life contemporary challenges that our students are facing. Dr. Torrance, excuse me, Dr. Torrance said at one point that the genius of the future will be the creative mind adapting itself to the shape of things to come. We have to teach students to adapt and to shape the things that come. Where global issues problem solving ends, this is where community problem solving begins. It's no longer a hypothetical situation that's set in 20 to 40 years in the future. We are looking at real situations in our world and seeing what we can do to solve the problems within those situations. So, what is community problem solving? Basically, what happens is that students identify real problems within their communities. And that's one of the things that we want to emphasize here. This is student-driven, student-led. So students identify real problems within their community. And this is an expansion of service learning. This is, you know, we use the ideas of service learning, of the community engagement and project management, you know, but here we have student choice and voice. It's not just going to a project that someone else has created and offering yourselves and working towards something, but this is creating your own, taking ownership, creating your own project and seeing it through to the end. It's real, okay? It could be global, but it could be local. You're going to use the steps and skills of the problem-solving process from future problem solving, and you're going to implement them throughout. Now, we know real life is a whole lot messier than an academic exercise. And so, you know, you're not going to necessarily go through steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in that order. But in order to truly experience the whole thing, those steps need to be done. You know, if your students just identify a solution at the beginning without doing the brainstorming of possible solutions or even other possible problems, they're not really experiencing the process, and they may miss something that is a much better idea than what they came up with off the top of their heads in the very beginning. Right? And what I really like about this is this is a real life application of critical and creative thinking. It uses the 6-step problem solving process. Okay. Well, let me show you what some of the students have done. You know, here's lots of possibilities. This was a project called the Garden of Many Faces, and they talked about the faces and the faces of autism. And its idea was to increase community pride, community heritage. There are other possible projects that can be done. You could design an art museum within your community to highlight local artists. Projects have been done to beautify the schools that they live in or to beautify their own communities. Students have started friendship clubs to make new students feel welcome. They've created websites to teach responsible spending and saving habits. They've designed programs that use animals to aid the instruction of special needs students. They've designed and built community parks and playgrounds for handicapped kids. They've organized local foster grandparent programs. They've built walking trails at local parks. They've improved the community's water quality through testing and government programs. They've decreased pollution within a community. They've created ways to share healthy living tips with children. All of these projects are pretty amazing. And we're not just talking about projects that are created by high school students. We're talking about projects that are created by students as young as in 4th grade. So the scope of the project is going to vary depending upon the level of the student. So, who all can participate? Go back here, sorry. Who all can participate in community problem solving? In Indiana, we have 3 divisions of competitive levels. We have the juniors, which are grades 4 to 6, the middle, which are grades 7 to 9, and senior, which are grades 10 to 12. Now, these are the levels that have been specified by the Future Problem Solving Program International. And the key there is international. We have students all over the world that do these programs. The way we will do it in Indiana is you will compete at the level that the highest grade in your school is. So for example, if you are a 9th grader, but you're in a 9 to 12 building, you'll compete with the seniors, okay? If you're a middle school student and your building is 6, 7, and 8, you'll compete, and you're a 6th grader, you're gonna compete with the middles. Juniors, grades 4, 5, and 6, if your building has, if your building has 6th grade in the elementary school, great, you're going to compete there. But if not, you're going to compete in the building that you go to school in, if at all possible. We know that there are differences when you have a charter school or you have schools that are K-12. If you're in that particular situation, please talk to us and we will give you guidance on what you need to do and what level your students will be qualified to compete in. That's the end of part 1, just a little basic background on future problem solving or community problem solving aspect of future problem solving. The next short video will take you through the next steps. Thanks for listening.